just one of the people in the background. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. So with that said, I'm going to leave it to Kenneth, and please, um, well, you know the drill. You
Yeah, I
just
know the drill.
tell us a little bit about yourself, and then get the show going.
So my name is Kenneth Lovenberg. I am a senior outsource manager for Zenga. I mainly work in advertising. So, I basically outsource ad design and stuff like that. In a former life, I was a graphic designer and illustrator, and I worked in the framed art industry for about 10 years. I've been using Photoshop for 26 years now. God, that's a long time. I have a Photoshop tattoo, which you can see there from version 4. Actually, I think it's 4.5, but still. But I've recently branched out. A couple months ago, my son got a 3D printer for his birthday. And there are some great things you can get on Thingiverse to make cool prints, but I got a little bored just printing stuff other people made. So I decided to teach myself Blender. And so I actually thought this was so much fun. I'm going to go ahead and create my own Blender YouTube channel. So I've actually been teaching Blender now for a while. So if we come over here, we can go to Photoshop. Not Photoshop, it's fun. It's my old one, Filament's Folly. And I've got lessons in here on how I build stuff in Blender and then how I finish the projects. So we're going to be looking at a couple of these designs today and then how I made them. So here we actually have my Fallout Death Snail. Of course, I hit the wrong button. I got to zoom in and find it. I'm just going to reopen it. Makes it easier. Don't save. All right, let me close this down here. So this is not an Adobe product. This is a product called Blender, and it is a 3D modeling program. It's completely free. It's not like Maya or something like that, which you have to pay for. And Adobe doesn't really have a competing product for this. So that's kind of one of the reasons I didn't feel super bad showing this off today at an Adobe User Group. We will be using Photoshop a little bit today because I'm the Photoshop guy. Of course, I'm going to get back to it eventually. But we're going to go through how this program works, how to do hard surface sculpting, soft surface sculpting, and some other stuff like that. Let me pull up my notes again real quick here because I lost them. It's the joy of having so many screens. You lose everything. And let's see. Here we go. So this interface is probably different than what most of you guys have seen for, Adobe products. Like I said, it's not done by Adobe, so I'm bringing my notes up here. So like I said, Blender is free. And I don't mean like free like you get a 30-day free trial or free like it's free for the first, year. It's always free. And it's super powerful. And it's actually becoming more of an industry standard now in the industry because it's just so powerful and so cheap. So we have a couple of different modes in here. We're going to go through all of them. We have object mode. We have, where is it? I have edit mode and sculpt mode. So I made this guy here, but we're going to find out how I went ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and create a new document here. And usually it'll start out with a default cube. I don't have that because since I started doing this to make 3D models for printing, this is actually the size of my original print bed. So that way when I was designing something, I could see how big it is and make sure it's not going to like overhang the print bed or whatever. But we can go ahead and delete that. So right now we have this nice gray plane. There's nothing here. Let's add a shape. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and hit Shift A, and we get all these options here. So what we really want are meshes, but as you see here, we have armatures if you're actually going to be animating. We can actually create empty things. So if you want something to rotate around a certain object, you can create an empty shape for that for your animation for later. You can drop images in as planes to go ahead and, use as reference. You can add lighting once you get done and add cameras. And if you're doing a movie in here, which I guess you could do, you could add speakers. That way volume sounded right. I've never used that, but I'm told you can. But let's go back up here to mesh. So what we want is a cube. So this is kind of what the default cube normally looks like. And congratulations, now you've made this cube, you are a 3D artist. And that's my presentation today. No, I'm kidding. So this is great. Now here in edit mode or in object mode, we can do what I like to call gross changes. So we can come up here to scale and we can scale in the Y, or we can scale in the X, or, if we want to move around, we can scale in the, the Y and the X like that. But these are really big changes. It's not really like, we still essentially have a cube here. And you can also do this with just hitting the S key and scaling that way, or then scale, depending if you hit SX, the X direction, or S to Z, the Z direction, that kind of thing, or axis. But if you wanted to start getting a little bit more granular and stuff, we need to come over to the edit mode. Now, edit mode is going to show you a lot more stuff. You have essentially the same cube now, but we have these buttons up here. And so we have vertex, edge, and face. So let's go from vertex, and then we're going to go cover some of these after that. So for vertex, a vertex is like this little spot right here where you can grab that, and then if you hit G, you can move that around. So you can see it's no longer really a perfect square, but we can move that one vertex. And we can undo that. If we want to do two vertexes, we can do that. And now we get both of them. But that's the funny thing. If you want two vertexes, you can come up to here to the second one, which is the edge. And then you can just select the edge. So you can see that turns white there. And then we can move it around like that. Now, granted, that's still great, but we still got a cube here. Even if we go to the third one, which is the face, now we're moving the face. I always like to pretend there's heavy metal music here and it's head banging. It's still that. So that still is not that useful, really. Especially if we wanted to make that snail. So let's start looking at some of these tools we have over here. So we have some of the similar tools, like we have rotate. So if I have this face here and I've selected it, I can rotate it. And I can either grab it here on the axis spinner. So if you look up here, you can see that axis, and that kind of tells you what axis this will turn in. Or you can hit R and then X, and that's going to rotate it in the X direction, or R, Z, and rotate it in the Z direction or Z direction. Or you can just grab it and rotate it by hand. So let's go over here and grab this one. And we're going to, two ways you can do this. We're going to extrude out this face. So we can come over to the extrude, which is right here. And you can just literally pull it. And that's going to create almost, it almost creates like another cube essentially. So it's got more faces to it now. So this is a face and that's a face. So it's separate. You can do this as many times as you want, and that's fine. But, I like to keep it to low, what they call low poly if you can, which means the fewer the faces, the better for as long as possible. Now, one of the other things you can do with this is you can actually hit the S key and just scale this face by itself. So now we get a little bit of a taper here, and that's really cool. But, if you remember our snail, which I wish I could show you, it was flat at the bottom, and this guy is no longer flat at the bottom. It's kind of curving up. So what we can do is we can come in here with the edge, and we can grab those three sides, and then we can just scale them. And that doesn't work always because I made a mistake. But you can scale this guy down, maybe moving him, and then grab these two and scale in that vertical. So there we go. It's a little bit better now. And it just extrudes. Hit extrude again by grabbing this and then shrinking that. Okay, so we kind of almost have the edge of the snail now, but we still don't have its head. So let's grab this face and extrude that out. And then we can go ahead and grab the top face and extrude this out. So now we kind of have almost a snail. And we want to shrink that a little because his head's a little smaller than his body. And now we're coming to our next tool. This is the loop cut tool. So what this does is it takes one of these cubes almost, and it tries to go ahead and create a cut all the way around it to create new faces. So if you notice, I want to put it up here. Maybe I can't do that. It's only going to be in the center between these two. But if you click, and before you release, you can move it up and down. So if I want it to be real close to the top, I can click in the center there, and then boom, I've got it there. And say you've got it there, but you put it in the wrong spot. You're like, I really wished it was a little lower. You come up here to your edge select one, and you can go ahead and hit shift and select them all. But with four sides, it's not so bad. But if you say you've got like 12 or 15 sides, that can be kind of a little tedious. If you go ahead and click on the first one, and then you hold down Alt on the PC and double click, it's going to select all the way around as best as it can. Now, if some of these more higher poly meshes that we'll look at later, that won't work as well because there's a lot more compute power involved and it's trying to guess a little. Right now, we don't really have that many faces. We've got 26 faces right now, which isn't really very many. So now we got that selected. If we hit GG, we can just move it down anywhere in that area. So let's kind of maybe move it here. And let's go back up here and grab our face. And we can extrude that again. And then shrink that. And that's great. Now we have everything but the antennas for the slug part. And again, what we can do here is the loop cut. I'm going to go here and add that there. Add another one right there. One more right there. And I'm going to select these two faces here. And if we come up here, we can actually select where we want the shrink to happen. I believe it's, where is it? So we go here for individual origins. It's going to shrink instead of, let me actually turn that off first. We go ahead and export that. So let's say we wanted to shrink the top of these because they're antennas, they kind of swoop in a little. We do this and it's now going to do that for individual origins. So if we had that turned off, let's see if we go for, I don't know what it normally is. Oh, well, that's fine. So we got our little points here. We're going to go ahead and extrude these one more time. Make this a little bigger. Extrude it one more time. Oops. And then make them a little smaller now. And then boom. Yay, we get little antennas. Thing is, this looks really hard still. Like this, if you saw a slug that was this sharp down the street, you'd be terrified. So let's go back to object mode. Now in object mode over here, we've got a lot of stuff going on over here. So let's kind of take a quick break and look at some of the stuff we have over here. This is kind of where your objects live. So if I duplicated this guy, you can see now we've got cube 1 and just cube. And if I duplicated them again, we've got another one. That's kind of where your objects live. It's a good idea to come in and hit F2 and then rename this. So it's like, slug. Just because once you get like a lot of objects, it can be hard to figure out what's what. And even if you have them named, sometimes it gets to be a problem because they're always in alphabetical order, which can be a problem with bigger projects. That's why you have collections. And you can create new collections. Yes.
Is it possible to make those windows larger so that the text is more visible to us?
I can make them larger. I don't know if you can make the text bigger. I'd have to change the resolution of my computer. Let me see if I can do that. Because right now I'm running everything at 1440.
Yeah, I don't want to complicate things with that request, but I don't know if there's a command plus that would make it bigger or anything.
Give me a second. Let me see if I can do that.
Okay.
Keep changes. Is that text bigger now?
Not sure. I think so.
Okay. Well, I made everything.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. So let's see if I can minimize that. Perfect. Okay. So now we got slug there, and we can go ahead and add collections here. So like maybe we have like sometimes I'm doing skulls, I'll put all the teeth into one collection and just name it teeth, just so I can find all the teeth real easy. That kind of thing. So right here we have a lot of different stuff. And one of the things we have here is the spanner or wrench here. And these are our modifiers. Now, there's a lot of modifiers in here. We're not going to go through all of them today, mainly because I just don't want this to go on until next year. And honestly, I don't use most of these. The one we really want to look at right now is subdivision surface modifier. And you can see now I applied that one, immediately became smoother. Now you can also do this by hitting Control-2, and it keeps going up from there. Now, if you look right here, you can see this is the modifier the way we have it. And we've got a couple things I really wanted to point out here. So we can turn this off, the view, by clicking here, and you can just see what this modifier looks on and off. Now, this really hasn't added geometry really yet. It's added the idea of geometry. So it's showing the geometry, it's rendering the geometry, but it's not really there. It's just kind of like a filter in Photoshop. That's a smart filter. And we've got these things here. We got render and viewport. We're not really going to focus on quality, but render means like if you're going to go ahead and take this and animate it or export it as a photo, that's how many levels of subdivision it's going to have in the render. Now, viewport is what we're seeing here. So that's kind of, this is the viewport, what we see. So if I go ahead and chunk that down to 0, you can see it gets all chunky again. And the more I do it, the more smoother it gets. But if you look down here under faces, you can see that the faces go up and down depending on that. So if I go ahead back down to 0, you can see we have 106 faces, and it's actually increasing those as it gets smoother. So if you have a really bad computer, you don't want to go too high because it'll kill your computer. So, all right, so we have this, and that's all fun and dandy. And now we probably might want to sculpt that. Now we probably would have to apply that first. So if we apply that, now it's gone, and this is just permanent. Now this is like that. It's just the way it is. So that will take us, now if I go over to edit mode again, you can see now, remember we had a couple squares? We have a lot of squares now. So each one of those squares is a face. And I can still, hit export, or not export, but extrude and any of these, and it will extrude them. It will just look funny, like I'm stabbing this thing. There we go. So that's all good. But the thing is, in the picture, I showed us actually sculpting a face. So that's really where I enjoy, because this is like good for like getting stuff into a shape. Like when I sculpted the snail, I kind of did this first to kind of get that shape thing going. So let's open up a new file. Not a new file, but a different Blender file I have here. This is John the Orc that I'm opening. So John the Orc, I just kind of made for fun. Like I literally just started with a ball of clay and started sculpting, and he turned up. I can't really tell you how. He was just in the ball of clay. Like, yes, I can tell you how. We're going to go over how. So let's go back to just normal mode here, and let's go and back to edit, and let's add a sphere. And let's shrink this sphere so that way he's similar to the size John is. All right. And we're going to apply that subsurface multiplier on that because we want more geometry in this. So when you sculpt, your geometry increases exponentially. It is just unbelievable how much geometry. I have a sculpture I did recently that had something like 15 million faces in it, and it almost killed my computer. It was great. And that's when I learned about Decimate, which we will actually be going over later today. So we have this nice smooth sphere here. We're going to come over and apply that, and we're going to go into Sculpt Mode. Now, I promise we will be getting to Photoshop tonight, but we have to get there first. So Sculpt Mode is something they've had for a while, but they really refined it in Blender 2.8, and that's what I'm running here is 2.83. They have Blender 2.91 out, and I haven't updated yet because I'm afraid it's going to break something. But we have some tools over here, and we have some stuff over here. So first thing we want to do is come up to the screwdriver and the spanner, and we got a lot of stuff over here. So let's go ahead and look at it. So we got the radius, and you can see this moves up here. That's the same tool set area. It's just in two different areas. The radius is just literally how big my brush is. Let's shrink that down. Don't worry about this here. And strength is basically how much it's going to do what it's going to do. Now direction is additive or subtractive. Now this is basically if you're doing a mask and it adds, subtracts, same idea. It's either, but this time you're going to be adding polygons or subtracting polygons or faces. Radius is basically how much, see there's an inner circle and an outer circle, how much of that outer circle it's going to take up. And then hardness is exactly like it is in Photoshop. How soft is that edge going to be? And then auto smooth, I don't usually keep it on there, but that can kind of smooth some of the stuff as you go. The one I really want us to look at here, though, is Dantapo. And every time you click on Dentapo, it's going to give you this warning. Just click OK. You usually want to do your sculpting before you do the painting. So you can see that this orc over here, John, I have already painted. Not a lot. He's just basically got default color applied. There's no shading, there's no texturing. It's just default. It looks nice, but it's really not that nice. He has none yet. But the thing is, you want to do that after you've done this part we're going to do where we sculpt. So now if you look under Dentapo, we've got a couple things. So we've got resolution, we've got refinement method, and we've got detail. Now, we don't really need to worry about refinement method, but resolution and detailing are the two we want to deal with the most at the moment. So let's start out with detailing. There's two different ways we want to be detailing this. Now, when I first started out, I only used constant detail, which means the resolution was always the same no matter where it was. Sorry, I saw a chat. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't see that till now. Is basically how much detail it's going to be adding. But it's going to be adding the same amount of detail if I'm zoomed in this much, or if I'm zoomed out to here. It's going to be adding the same amount of detail. And I should not have done that. Oh, did I lock this up? Okay, it's not that bad. And just I dropped that before we do that again. Cool. And then what relative detail is that essentially the more you're zoomed in, the higher the resolution is. But if you zoom out a lot, you can see that these chunks get really big and blocky if it doesn't. Oh, is it going to do it? I don't usually do zoom and, there we go. So you can see now those pics, that looks really bad. It's really rough because it's essentially lowering the detail the farther out you go.
Kenneth,
Yes.
so you're working in some kind of mirror mode that does things symmetrically?
Yes. So if you look up here, we have mirror in the X, mirror in the Y, and mirror in the Z. And so if I turn all three of them on, it makes really fun looking creatures. Like, so if I turn on all three, and I'm going to go through what these tools are here in a minute. And let's pull, let's see what happens. Yay, I get like some sort of weird virus looking thing. With ears. But yeah, that just mirrors. I usually keep just the X on just because it makes it easier for my life when I'm trying to sculpt a symmetrical face. So we have that. Anyway, so I like to start out with constant detail and keep the count real low. The idea is you want to keep your poly count as low as for as long as possible, so that way you have less strain on your computer as you get in, and you don't just make things too high poly to make them too high poly. Oh man, this is really lagging. You know, I'm gonna do this in a new file where we don't have John here, just because John is pretty high res and he's causing some issues. Sorry, John. Cancel. Let's go for new, and we're gonna go for a sculpting one. I think that cancel. There we go. Sculpt. Don't say it. Come on. There we go. All right, so we're essentially in the same exact spot. We just have a new sphere here for modeling. Turn on Dentapo again. And we want constant detail. I always like to eyedrop the sphere just so I can see what it's sculpting at, so that way it's similar. So, all right. Now the thing is, we want to start sculpting this from the front, but can anybody here tell me which side is the front on this? It's kind of a little hard. Now, if you have a numpad on your computer like I do, if you hit 1, you're going to go into isometric front view. So this is the exact front of this sphere. If I go to 3 on my numpad, it's going to go to isometric side view, which is kind of hard to tell. So I'm just going to go ahead and really quickly give this guy a nose that we will not be keeping. And you can see the difference now. If I go to 7, it gives me top view. If I go to 9, it gives me bottom view, that kind of thing. So we have this. Now, the thing is, we want to start getting this kind of like generically shaped. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through these in a little bit out of order. And we're going to start out with the mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the bottom. And I'm going to start masking this out. And I'm going to turn the strength all the way up. And there we go. So now we got a mask at the bottom. I'm going to come up to mask here, and I'm going to invert that mask. Now, that's great because now I have only the bottom part unmasked. Now, we have a lot of tools over here, and we're going to go through a good chunk of them. But my favorite tool that I use the most is the snake hook tool. If you're only going to learn one tool over here tonight, it needs to be the snake hook tool because that's the one you're going to use the most. Let me make sure my Dantapo's on. Oh, by the way, Dantapo adds geometry. So let me turn this off real quick and show you what I mean. So right now what we're doing is we're going to pull out that neck. And if I start doing this, start pulling out this neck here, you can see that it kind of starts to look a little, I don't know, like patterned. And if I zoom in, you can see like it doesn't look smooth. These look really rough. And that's because we're not actually adding any geometry. So as you see, look down here, I got 49,000, some odd faces. If I start pulling all this, that number doesn't go up. It's like whatever average, however much geometry we have here is exactly how much we're going to keep. And that looks horrible. So let's undo that. And let's turn on Dantapo. Again, I'm going to eye drop that just to make sure that didn't get reset. And now I'm going to start pulling it. And now if you look here, you can see now we're increasing every time I pull one of these, that face count is increasing because it's actually adding geometry. And when you're sculpting, you don't want to just get like one area perfect and then start sculpting the next part. What we're really doing to begin with here is we're just trying to get proportions to begin with. So I'm not going to put in all the detail of the neck and stuff like that. I just kind of want some proportion. And I know his shoulders need to be bigger than that, but we don't want, like I said, do too much in one spot. So now let's go ahead and clear this mask. And now we can start working on the rest. So let's go back to that snake hook tool again. And let's maybe pull out the chin a little. And maybe we're going to pull out the forehead just slightly. And pull out the back of the head, maybe push that in. And you just kind of keep moving around your model. Now, the way I'm moving around this model here is I'm using my central mouse button. So like the click, you know, you have a scroll wheel and you can click down as a third button. That's what I'm using here. And a lot of times when I'm just sculpting, I don't actually know what I'm sculpting to begin with. I just start kind of poking holes in the clay. And so I'm like, that looks like this. All right, so we kind of have like a really bulbous head looking thing here going on. And we want to go ahead now and maybe start refining it a little bit more. Maybe we want to give it ears. So we're going to go ahead and use that same technique we used for the neck. Maybe shrink this down a bit. That looks like a good spot for ears. And since we're using that mirror mode, like I showed earlier, it's on both sides of the head. We're going to come here and we're going to invert that mask. Come back to our snake hook tool, scroll it up, and then pull them out, and then pull them back. Again, I'm not going to put all the details into the ear yet. I just trying to get them pulled out. So, you know, I know we don't have any holes in these ears and stuff. The ears look a little large, but that's okay. Come up here, we're going to clear that mask again. Excellent. He's looking really good. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up this head a little, maybe make this a little larger. And now we're gonna, perfect, that looks good. All right, so we want to go ahead and start working the eyes next. But the thing is, we don't really want to come in here and like do the eyes. So what we could do is let's start looking at some of these tools. So we have our draw tool. And, you know, yeah, we could come in here and draw that and then draw this here and then maybe use some of the other tools. Now, this is just basically adding clay or adding polygons. And that works if that's the way you want to do some stuff. I mean, it's a little bit of a brute tool in some aspects, but you can see like the smaller it is, like that. It's fine. And then we have the sharp draw tool. So maybe you're thinking maybe we could do the lips with that. Oops. Always for some reason it doesn't subtract. Which is, I guess you could, but these are more detailing tools. You know, and maybe you want to come in here with the inflate tool, which literally just inflates stuff and you can make the eyeball. Wow, this is a really ugly dude. Which we could do, but the thing is later on, if maybe we want to move the eyes or something like that, this is a problem. So let's go ahead and get rid of all this stuff. And let's go back to our snake hook tool. And let's gouge out his eyes essentially. So we're gonna push in.
Kenneth, can you please explain to us with what you are moving the cursor? Is it a trackpad, a regular mouse, a stylus pen?
I'm using a regular mouse.
Okay.
Now I do have, if I can get it out over here, a Wacom style tablet that I use sometimes. This is a Hunyu 610. It is 10 by 6 inches. I love this tablet, and the best part about it is it was $50, and it's got higher resolution than most Wacom tablets. So really good. Love this thing. I don't have anywhere to put it, so I'm just putting it down there for now.
Where did you get it for $50?
Amazon.
Ah,
It's been really, I really like it. I even built myself a little Wacom pen holder that looks like Hellboy's fist. And I built that actually in Blender. So we have our face kind of here, and we want to put eyes in them. So let's go back to our object mode. And actually, you know, I want to show you something. Let's go over to edit mode. Remember what that looked like when we were doing the polygons before? This is what the polygons look like now. So if I come in here, you can see these are all the little faces like we had earlier. So I can still select one of these faces, and I can still hit, you know, extrude. And there we go. We got one. That's how small these faces have gotten at this point. So this will be really difficult to model at this density in that. Sometimes you can do what's called retopologizing on these, which is where you basically kind of build those bigger meshes around this to do the same detail level. But I find it hard to be creative in doing it that way. I find it easier to do in sculpt mode myself. So, what was I going? Okay. Let's see, object mode. So let's go over here. We're going to hit Control A, and we're going to add a sphere. And if you hit G, you can move stuff around. Now, if you hit G and then like X, or let's say Y, you move stuff only in the Y axis. If you hit G and Z, only the Z axis, just as an FYI. So I'm going to go ahead and hit G and Y and bring this forward. And that does not look like an eyeball, maybe at least not appropriately. And I'm just going to scale that down. Oops. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit G and X and bring it this way. And I'm just going to kind of move it into position like that slowly. Oops. There we go. Cool, so we got one eye. Now, the thing is, I want the second eye to be in the exact same spot. But it's really going to be hard for me to do that by hand. So if we come over here to the wrench again, we have another modifier, and we can do the mirror modifier. Now, we can do modifiers here in all these like bisecting and flipping and the Z-axis and the Y-axis and the Z, all that kind of stuff. We're just going to keep it in the X-axis. And then this is the mirror object. So we're going to say an object I want you to mirror from. So if we had an object like out here and we told it to mirror, it would mirror based on that object. But we're not going to do that. We want it to mirror on our dude here. So we do that. Great. Now we have the eyes like that. So if I grab this eye here and I move, you can see now they move in unison. So if I move it up, it moves up, that kind of thing. And I'm just going to rotate this eye by hitting R and then X and then 90. Just so that way the top of the sphere is facing me, because that will make making pupils later easier. All right, so we have our eyes, but the thing is we have no eyelids and we have no anything yet. It's kind of actually a little creepy, really. So let's go back to sculpt mode and let's go actually start using this draw tool that we looked at earlier. And oops, I'm on the wrong object. Now I can't, so that's one of the things. You can set it up so you can select different objects here. I've never done that because I always forget to, and I don't remember how now. So you need to go back to object mode, select our dude here, go back to sculpt mode, and now turn Tapo back on because, oh, it stayed on. Most of the time it doesn't. And we can actually start drawing now. So if I start drawing here just like this with that draw tool, that one right there, I'm giving him eyelids. Excellent. So that's good for now. Like I said, we don't want to go too deep in any of the details because we're still doing so much, but we want to start getting more and more of the stuff in. So let's go ahead and go back to the snake hook tool and start working on his nose maybe. And just start pulling maybe a little here. And like this is a point where I may actually come up and use that inflate tool we talked about. And maybe kind of inflate his nose just a little. Just because I know it'll be smooth and even. And then you can come in here and if we hold the control key or we hit negative or subtract or sorry, deflate, we can actually push holes in his nose. Let's turn up the strength on that so we're not here forever.
That's amazing.
So now we've got a nose here and you can go, oh, you know what? I can see up his nostrils. That's a problem. So we have the snake hook, but we've got its friend called where is it? The elastic deform. And for that, we can kind of come in here and it's going to move stuff just a little. But actually, I think we are still going to use the snake hook. And we're just going to do that. So now that's looking a little better. Maybe we want to push that stuff up a little, maybe even. So there, perfect. Now, if you look at a person, maybe the chin sticks out a little bit more. That's why it's so important to always move around your model. If you're only looking at it from one point of view, you're gonna be like, it looks great, and then you're like, oh my God, it's hideous, you know? So always move around this model, always. And then we're gonna pull on his mouth just a little. We don't want to build his lips with this, but we kind of want to get the lip area. All right, so one of the other tools we're gonna look at here now is the smooth tool. Now this area, that bump right there is a little bit too hard for me because your chin isn't that hard. Maybe if we're doing like something super stylized, we would, but I probably wouldn't do that stylization now. I would do it later. So we have the smooth tool here, and that will just smooth that. It's going to take an average of those polygons. But here's a cool trick. Let's undo that. Let's say we're using that snake hook tool and we pulled this out. We're like, oh, don't like that. If we just hold shift, it becomes that tool. So now we can smooth that back out without having to use it or leave the tool we're in. And it's like that for any of these tools over here. If you hold shift, it automatically does smooth. So I can go like this, maybe smooth that out now a little. And I can kind of like start to play with it until I get it the way I want. All right, so now we got the lips kind of almost here. I want to give them some nice lips. I want to give them kissable lips. So we need to use the crease tool. Now the crease tool does something you'll never expect. It can crease stuff. I know it's kind of weird, but it's what it does. So we have, of course, subtract and additive. So let's start out with subtract. So we've already made that little bulge for the lips. Let's kind of go in here and just start to kind of do this. Maybe like down at first. And you see now we're not really getting the details we want because it's just, we're getting too close into this now that we've got some of the bigger stuff done. And those polygons are still too big. So this is the point I'm going to go ahead and switch over to relative detail. So remember, relative detail means the closer I get to something, the higher the detail is going to be. So if I'm out here, it's going to be really gross. I don't mean disgusting, but I mean like large, gross detail. But in here, it's going to be real tight. So now you can see that looks much better. So now we're going to kind of go like this. All right, so maybe a little bit too much at the moment, but that's okay. It's a good start. A little bit of a smile at the edge. There we go. And now we want to kind of maybe come in here at additive, start working on the top of his lips. There we go. That's nice. And maybe just a little bit here. Now you can see, like, since I was too far away there, it kind of ruined a little bit of that detail. There we go. And then we can just come back in here at that snake hook tool. Maybe just push this up just a little. Again, I'm too far away. And I'm going to make that brush size a little bigger there. All right. So let's start looking at this. Maybe the bridge of his nose might be just a little bit too big. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're starting to get an interesting looking dude here. There's a couple more tools I want to go over with, and then we'll start doing texture. How am I doing on time? I think I'm doing okay so far. So eyelids, we want a nice sharp eyelid here. So you're like, oh, okay, hey, I saw you get a nice sharp detail with the crease tool, which does work, you're right. So we come in here for like this. We can make this nice and small here and start doing that. Increase the strength a little maybe. But it's still kind of a little soft. I mean, it's a little bulbous. You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite like hard, like maybe we're trying for the styling on this. Maybe we want more of like a real hard line. Well, that is actually doable. So what we would do is come up here to the pinch tool. And now if we come in here to the pinch tool, and I'm going to increase the size a little here and increase the strength. You can see now it's going to start really making that hard. Excellent. Now he kind of has like real eyelids. And at this point is when I start doing a little bit more of the actual detailing. So maybe I'm going to go back up here to the crease tool where, sorry, this thing keeps getting in my way, which you guys can't see. Actually, I can move that off here, can't I? I can't. Let's do that. Where is the crease tool? There it is. And oops. I'm going to go in for subtract and then turn down that hardness. And maybe I'm just going to start kind of going in here and maybe adding a little bit of texture into his face. And maybe a little bit up here. Oops. Maybe like a little there to kind of accentuate those brows. And I'd probably go in and start doing is the ear detail, which I think I might actually do here just in a second. Oops. So now we kind of got like a little bit of personality on him, which is kind of looking nice. You know, he's to the point now I almost want to give him a name. Ears are basically the same techniques we were using other places. So, you know, we'll come in here with the draw tool and maybe kind of build out the center of this ear a little. It's always important to have references when doing stuff like this. I like drawing ears, so I kind of get like an internal reference for them. It's kind of a weird thing that I like to draw. Don't read anything into that. It's just, I don't know, they're weird shapes, so I remember them. And then maybe we'll come in here with that deflate and kind of like push this area of the ear in a little. And then really in that spot to have a little ear hole. So now I get a little bit of detail there. You know, you can always put more detail into this. So we have a lot of this on here now. Let's talk about Photoshop finally. I told you we'd get there eventually. So we want to go ahead and put some textures on him. So if we come down here to texture properties, you can see we have no textures. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use a black and white image to go ahead and put textures onto him. So let's get to use that as a map, as like a brush, and you'll see what I mean in here in a second. So let's go ahead, new texture. Let's add a new texture. Oops. Open a new texture. And let's come over here. My Seagate drive. Blender textures. And let's go to animal skins. And so you can see we have this texture here. So now if I come back up to here and I open up textures, you can see that I have that texture in there. Thing is, I want to make sure this actually says raw because it's a little bit too dense now. So there we go, that's better. And I usually want to keep the strength like a little bit low on this all to begin with and see how it's going to look. So the thing is, the bigger you make your brush, the bigger that texture is going to look on there. So you can see here, it's not looking super great. Let's go ahead because we were zoomed in. Let's come over here and change this back to consistent detail and get that area because that area is probably pretty high. Okay, this may kill my computer. We'll see. Oh, I'm in the wrong brush. No wonder that didn't work. Let's go ahead and select that again. Open. Yeah, I guess he kind of does look like Gollum. And I can show off the Wacom thing afterward. I'll even find the Amazon link. Where is it? Oh, under textures, animal skins. Because people are just animals by other name. You want raw still? All right, let's see. Is this gonna work? Yep. All right, there we go. So you can see we have it set, the strength still set to 50 to 500. You can see how much it's really deforming this mesh. So let's go ahead and bring that down to like less than 100 here. And you can see it's just kind of like subtly putting in the textures, which is great. That's exactly what we want. So we get that. So if we zoom in here, we can start like texturing out his face and stuff. If my computer will handle it. Come on. Usually it does handle it better than this, but the problem is I'm doing Zoom at the same time, and this is kind of resource intensive. And I've got a pretty powerful computer here. I've got like an i9 with 32 gigs of RAM. So let's increase that strength just a little. There we go. So now you can see we're starting to kind of paste in some of this texture in. And of course, you know, we'd probably pick a texture that was a little bit better than this. This makes him look, he's got elephant skin. And you could use multiple different textures as you do this. Now, the thing is, one of the textures I have in here, let's go over to Photoshop and open these up and look at them. A little preview of an ad that I'm working on for Zanga. Let's go file open. We do buy these stock photos eventually. We just comp them as like that. And blender textures, animal skins. Let's look at one of these. And one of the ones I know will be that I've already fixed.
Kenneth, do those textures come with the program?
No, I bought these. I think this was $20 for all of these textures. And I'm not going to go through a lot of this tonight because I'm not good at it, but we've got what's called a normal field, a displacement, and then a color. And together those can be baked into an image to give those really photorealistic looks. I don't do a lot of that since mainly what I do for sculpting is stuff for 3D printing. I don't really need to, but they did come with that kind of stuff. So let's look. I just saw that skin here. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to open up both versions of the skin. Now, so this is the original version of the skin, and this is my version of that skin. Now, if you notice, something slightly changed when I did that. And the reason for that is this skin is not a repeatable texture. So what I mean by that is, so if I do this and I come in here, oops, and I go percentage, and I say this is 200%, 200%, and I come in here, and I move this over here, and I move this down, and I move this over. everybody here can see exactly where that texture begins and ends in all 4 of those spots. And that would make my model look weird, because then the skin wrinkles would just stop here and then start again in a different spot right below them. And that would look bizarre. So what I've done with that, if I do the same thing to this one, percentage, and I come out here and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that you can maybe kind of a little tell, but it's a lot harder to tell. These things kind of flow for the most part. I got one little bad spot there and maybe another bad spot there, but they flow a lot better. And the way that I did that is really simple. So let's go ahead and go back to here. And let's see what size this is.
Kenneth, I think there's a new feature in Photoshop that allows you to do a repeat texture or something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna be using that actually. So it's not quite new. It's been there a while, but a lot of people don't use it. So I'm just gonna go over to here to pixels. Good. So we have a 1024. I love that number. It's great. It's a multiple of 2 or a square of 2. But it also, I like it because I know those numbers pretty well because of computers. So if we come up here to filter, other, and then we go to offset. And what offset's going to do is I can tell it 512 by 512, and it's going to offset that textures and then repeat it. Now, you know, this looks like, well, that doesn't look any better. That still looks just as bad. You just move the bad stuff into a new area. Yeah, you're right, I did. But here's what it's going to allow me to do. I went over here to the heal tool, and I'm just going to kind of go across like that. Let that heal. Excellent. I love when it does that. Come on. And then I'm just going to kind of maybe do the spot a little bit bigger here and a little bit bigger here. And I just kind of want them to look like they're flowing a little in the middle. Man, this computer is really slow with everything open here. I haven't clicked anything in a couple seconds. Okay. So we're going to pretend that looks great again. I'm going to go ahead and do the offset one more time. And then I'll look for spots like this. And I'll hit them again, because that happens sometimes. And then I'll do the offset again. And I'll kind of go back, see, I made another one here, and I'll kind of try to get these like that. It may take me a little while to get these right. I'll just keep going back and forth until I get it looking good. And then I'll save it, because now at this point, this is a repeating texture. So if I come up here and I do the same thing we did earlier, percentage, 200, 200. And I come in here. Now, obviously, I probably would have worked with this one a little bit more, but it looks a lot better than it used to already. Like it's still, we still have some issues like right there where that's fading, but I would go ahead and fix that up. And that really allows that brush, once you re-import it back into here, to be repeating. And the cool thing is you don't really need to use just skin textures. You know, anything can be the right texture. This is something I learned while just doing Photoshop work. Anything can be the right texture. So maybe, you know, we're going to come out here and let's go up one. Maybe we're going to look at rough rock, and I'm just going to pick, I have no idea which one this one is. So maybe that might make a good skin texture. I don't know. Let's find out. You know, maybe it's got, maybe it's a little acne of an area, that kind of thing. You know, anything can look good as a texture, you know, that's just the thing I was trying to, I guess, make a point of. So that is kind of what I was going to be going through tonight. We're not going to be doing too much of the painting because honestly, I'm not very good at that and I'm still learning. The only real big thing after this, I guess, is just getting it ready for 3D printing. Now, this guy is probably not going to be great for, oh, yeah, now I remember what I was going to do. So today, so he's not super bad. Like he doesn't have that many polygons. So if we go back out to object mode. All right, there we go. You can see we've only got like 1.1 million faces, and you don't literally want to exceed like 1 million faces per inch when you're 3D printing, because the printers just can only handle so many changes of direction in so large of an area. But let's say, you know, your looks really good, but you're slowing your computer down and you want to work on them a little more. You can come up over here, you can go to modify, and you can go to decimate, which always sounds like a bad thing. Like, I'm going to decimate him. But decimate essentially used to mean killing 10 out of every 100 people, you know, to decimate. Well, that's kind of the idea here, is we're going to get rid of a lot of these polygons. So you can see here's the ratio. If I come in here and I go 0.5, we're going to keep half of that face or polygon count. So this is going to take a second, because it's going to try to figure out of this 1.1 million, which of these can I combine into other polygons and still keep as much of the detail as possible. So this can take sometimes a while. So if you want any questions, now is a good time to ask before this turns back from being wiped.
So this is Anne. I have a question.
Sure.
Textures just have to be black and white Photoshop documents?
I usually use TIFFs just because they have good color value, but JPEGs work too. You
Okay.
probably use, good.
How about a ping?
PNGs are fine as well, as long as they're not doing transparencies in them. I don't know, because it's based on a black and white value map.
Okay.
So I don't know how well it will handle color, because I've never tried it. But I know the ones with holes in them or transparencies may cause issues in your mesh.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
But it's mainly 256 grayscale, isn't it? Or
Yeah. 256 essentially.
so if I had like a nice picture of an eyeball, could I put that like a decal on the eyes or something like that?
You could actually. That's actually more UV mapping, which we can do a little bit here if we want. I've done that before for a absolutely terrifying baby spider. Let me see if I can find my terrifying baby spider, and I can show you what it looks like when you wrap stuff like that. I would open the document, but it will take longer than we'd like to wait. Baby. So I'll just open up the render in Photoshop. Please, this might be a little scary, so you know, no children in the room. It's not like inappropriate. It's just scary looking. Let's see. Nope, that's not. That's the G code. Oh, I know I've got a render of the baby spider. You know what? We'll just open the file. Oh, good. It didn't close out my other one. Blender is funny. It does not really like to have more than one project open at a time.
Which kind of makes sense with all that math going on in the background. So.
Yeah. So this is something I made just for fun. Oh, this one doesn't have the texturing on him. Let me find a different version of this guy.
No, that's okay. I was just wondering if it was possible. I mean,
yeah, you could basically I'll unwrap an eye when we're done here, and we can look at it, and I'll show you how it works. So anyway, we were over here doing the decimate, and you can see now we've cut that polygon count now in half, and it looks just as good. Like if I turn this off, it's hard to even tell that I decimated it, because it's really smart. Now, the thing is, if you've already done your texture wrap, you don't want to decimate it, obviously, because again, that will cause your texture map not to match up properly. And I should not have turned it off and back on again. Oh, let's go ahead and unwrap the eyes here. So let's take this eye here, and we're going to duplicate the eye. And I'm going to go over to edit mode, and let's see. Oh, do I need to grab it from over here? All right, we can grab that. I'm going to change this to, Oh, it's been a while since I did this. Not weight painting. UV editor. Oops. And let's go to unwrap. All right, so now this is the eye, believe it or not. So this is all the polygons for the eye kind of unwrapped. Now, this makes it really hard for us to know where what is, but we can actually come in here and start doing this ourselves. So we come in this, we can actually be like, let's go ahead and just do that. Actually, you know what we can do since this is so simple? We can actually double click there, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to mark seam. I don't know why Mark likes seams, but he does. Where is it? Mark seam. And then maybe we can come in here and mark seam. And then we'll come from here to there. Oops. And mark seam. And then we'll do one more over here. Mark seam. Oops. Mark seam. Okay, so now that we got those all marked, what we did is basically did is we told it, hey, I want to cut apart this mesh so that way it lays flat. And I want you to cut it apart on these seams that I've marked. So if I come in here, I can use my X-ray view, select it all. I can actually use my mouse properly and hit U, and then I believe it is Smart Unwrap, maybe? No. Is it just unwrap? Sorry, it's been a while since I did this. Unwrap. There we go. Okay, so now you can see we got this unwrapped here. Perfect. So what we're going to do here is we are going to save this out as new. That's fine. Perfect. Image, save as. And we're going to name this demo eye because that sounds scary and I like that. And demo eye. And I'm just saving it over here and hitting save.
Yeah, that is similar to like a sprite sheet in most programs, right?
Yeah, essentially it's kind of what's similar, except for it's 3D. So if I come over here and I open this up now, and I can find it because I get too many files on my computer. Cool, I did. I forgot to PUI. You know, I'm just gonna do this the quick way, just so I have an idea. And just as there are ways you can export this so that way it does this. I'm not super awesome at it. Maybe if I select it all. It's been too long since I did this part, unfortunately. But we can do it this way and just paste this in here and then scale it properly since this one's simple. And then let's just go and get an eye texture real quick off of YouTube. Let's get an eye off of Google. And we want the biggest iris I can find. Tools. Now, there are people who are much better at this than I am, but this is just more of like a demo to show that it's possible. good enough for now. And I made the pupil smaller so I could tell them apart when I unwrapped it. So I put that there. And then all right, so let's save this. Now we can actually say it will read Photoshop files, which is nice. Okay, let's go back to Blender. And let's now go over to shading. Grab that and new. We want image texture into base color, open image. I think this is how I did it last time. It's been a while.
That's a lot.
Oh, look at that.
And then so if I come back over here to Sculpt Mode and I turn this on here, you can see that we've got that right there. And I can even make it look all shiny and gross and wet. So if I come over here and I just kind of turn up the metallic a little and maybe turn up the subsurface scatter a little. No, let's see, I want sheen, there we go. And clear coat. You know, you can mess around with these, maybe turn down the roughness. There we go.
Look at
So
that.
kind of all shiny. And then we can actually, since this doesn't actually change the geometry, it just looks like it does. Oh crap, what did I do? Object. Oh, come on. All right, so now we can see it's all shiny and smooth like a real eyeball. And of course, it would have a little bump here in the front if it was real. And he's not done it all, but I can add another light source in here real quick. Let's add the sun. Now, the cool thing about the sun light source is it doesn't matter where you put it. It's more matters what angle you put it at. So even though I can put it behind this, if I do it that way, even though it's behind the eye, even I can put it behind the head even. It's still going to go ahead and eliminate, globally illuminate that way. So you can see we have a nice eye right now. So yes, you can actually wrap the texture around it to make an eye.
That's awesome.
So and then you can even move them around, just nice and creepy. You can actually even do animations and stuff like that in Blender. I'm not super awesome at animation. The closest thing I've actually gotten to doing any type of animation is one that I can't show because it's too political. And another one that I'm going to show here, which is in the beginning of my YouTube videos, which is, where is that? Am I in the right? I'm in the wrong browser. That's what happens when you have so many browsers. Let's come over here. And why is it doing it down there? Why? Who wants to watch it in the corner? Is it going to actually play? So this animation here is done all in Blender. So yeah, you can do some animations and stuff like that. And people make movies and stuff in Blender. I don't. So, but does anybody have any other questions?
I think we're blown out of our shoes here. It's very impressive. I really, really thank you for this presentation. It's been very entertaining and awesome in every way. So thank you so much.
No worries. Yeah, and let me go real quick to the Amazon listing for that tablet if you guys want to write it down. Good. This is like an amazing tablet. Let's see. It's a. Good. I can never remember how to spell it. It's a H-U.
Yeah, we had a request that you please show the tablet again
Yeah.
in front of the camera. People didn't get a good glance at it. Give them a chance to go into speaker view so they can see clearly.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing my screen then. Well, let me show the Amazon listing real quick, and then I'll stop sharing. Just to get you
Great.
that.
Maybe you can put a link to it in the chat room.
Perfect. That's a great idea. I would give you an Amazon affiliate link, but unfortunately Amazon has disabled my affiliate links. I don't have enough followers. You have to have 500, and I only signed up when I had 100.
Oh,
So this is my tablet. It's got programmable buttons on this side, which I really like. It's a 6x10. I think it's actually upside down. It's, like I said, $50. I think it's got 2048 levels of sensitivity. They have one similar to this, but with screens in them for about $200. So if you know, a normal Wacom like that is like over 1,000. So it's a nice little thing, and they're laminated glass. So I don't know if you guys have seen some of the older Wacom tablets where it feels like you're drawing on air. And there's like a gap between the glass and the screen. These are laminated like your phone. So that's nice. This one doesn't have a screen in it though. It's just a piece of plastic.
That's impressive. I have a Wacom half that size and at twice the price.
Yeah. The only thing I did not like is it came with a
And
really
quarter
bad,
of the resolution.
yeah, it came with a really bad pen holder. So like I'm a real big Hellboy fan. So I sculpted this for myself, and the pen just kind of goes in the top, and Hellboy holds my pen. So
And how many weeks did it take to 3D print that pen holder?
that pen holder took me about a day and a half to print. That's a smaller piece. I've got a zombie I'm working on here. I'm gonna go get it real quick. And that one has taken me over 2 weeks to print. It's got more parts, but unfortunately I don't have them put together, but it's a zombie version of myself. He'll be 22 inches tall when he's finished. I can hold him like a baby right now because he's so big. But yeah, he's kind of terrifying, and he's got the visor that I wear a lot, and I've got glasses for him, and his shoes have Birkenstocks with socks on. So, you know, fun stuff like that. He'll be up on the YouTube channel probably in a few weeks.
So Karen, how do we proceed from here? We have
before we go on to the raffle, I've been texting you in chat, but not getting an answer. Do we have a presenter and a program for January?
That is a very good question.
I'm pretty sure we did come up with something at our last volunteer meeting, but I'm not clear on what it was.
I think I very boldly said that if we don't get anyone, I can cough up something, but
Okay, well, by our volunteer meeting, we'll need to come up with whatever that's going to be.
We don't want you to cough up stuff. We want you to teach.
well, it depends on how deep I'm going to dig to find something new. Well, there's been new versions now of all the software, so I mean, focus on the new features is always fun, you know. So
Yeah.
but you know, I'm my main tool is InDesign. So if you're not too tired or bored of InDesign, I will keep that in the
Oh,
back.
that's right. We had planned that you were going, I think Cornelius, Cornelius, I'm sorry, I'm mixing things up. We already had part 2 of Cornelius's
No,
presentation.
but Ramon said he wanted to do something, remember?
Who, I'm sorry, who?
The guy from Lumenbright.
Oh, Roman.
Roman. I don't know where I always call him Ramon, but he said he was wanting to do something after he got back from the Adobe thing. So we may want to tap him to do something in January.
I can reach out to him and see
And you know him well, so
yeah, I worked for him since 2014 actually.
Right.
So that's I can reach out to him tomorrow.
okay.
Great.
And, you know,
Wonderful.
maybe in February, I might be able to do one on the, I know Photoshop's got some new stuff with the sky replacements and stuff like that. I'd like to learn that stuff myself. So it would give me a reason to learn it because I don't use it anymore in my day job as much.
That would be
Sky
good.
Replace is fun.
Yeah, no, it's,
Sky Replace is really fun.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
and I think they've
Yeah.
actually beefed up the automation engine a little in Photoshop, and I have to learn to play with that. Even I don't use it for work anymore. I still want to learn it, keep my skills sharp there.
Right. That's typically what I do. It gives me a reason to want to teach something. I learn some new features
Yeah.
or a new program for that matter.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to put this in the chat. If you guys want more resources on Blender, I am a horrible teacher for Blender. I've only been using it for 4 or 5 months. There are so many good people on YouTube. Grant Abbott is amazing. He's got a full course loads on all sorts of stuff he gives away for free. And then the Photoshop, and then the Blender Guru does a lot too. His donut tutorial, I know it sounds weird, will teach you so much about Blender.
Cool.
I will dig out those links and put them in chat.
Okay. So back to wrapping up our meeting and getting to the raffle. Do we have any other prizes to give away tonight in addition to the big raffle prize?
I don't
Tom,
have,
do you know of anything?
I don't have anything. We
Okay.
used to have like a free stock photos, but I'm not sure how that system works.
Okay, well, at our next volunteer meeting, we need to figure out how to give away the free stock photos. It may just be it may just be a raffle thing. Maybe, why don't we call a winner for that on the raffle before we do the Adobe Cloud? And then once we figure out who's won the stock images, we can figure out how to deliver them, get them delivered to that person. And I'm sort of fumbling because I'm trying to remember the rules that Donna had set up for the raffle and that kind of thing. I believe you are not eligible for a raffle ticket the first time you attend a meeting, but the second time you can.
And if you won last time, you can't win again for another year.
Okay, so we remember who won the big prize last time?
Wasn't
Was
that
it Gary? Or
No.
was she the time before that?
Really?
I can't remember. Well, she isn't present, whatever, and you have to be present to win. So and also there are three of us who aren't going to be Tom, Cornelius, and I are not in this running because we are getting a subscription for being co-managers. And so your chances are very good. If you attended tonight, please be sure that you filled out the registration form because that will give you an entry. And Kenneth, I did duplicate your entry tonight 4 times for giving this presentation, which is the big incentive. If you give a presentation, you get 4 raffle tickets. So your odds go up exponentially.
Karen, I
Yes.
did that was my question earlier. Did I have to fill out that registration form or did you do it for everyone?
For last
Or
month.
for this time?
No, I didn't do it. For tonight, you have to do it yourself.
So to be eligible for the drawing tonight, I have to do that like right now?
Well, yeah,
Yes.
it'll give you 1 extra ticket, so you probably want to do it.
So how do I do that?
At the top of our chat, I'll just put it in the chat again. Here's the form. It's a very simple 4-question form. It won't take long, and we'll wait until
Okay.
that's done.
I'm just not finding the chat.
Chat's at the bottom. If you look next to your share screen or your video stuff, you'll see.
Got it.
Expansion screen chat.
Got it.
And I could share my screen and show you. Let me just make sure I have the spreadsheets up to show you.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't do this earlier.
That's okay. We're all fumbling because we don't quite know how to do this raffle.
Oh,
So if you're seeing my screen, you'll see that we have a spreadsheet now for all of the attendees from the August meeting when we started doing this again. And it gives the date when they appeared. And if somebody put a big comment in there, it shows up on the right. And Karen, let me just make sure that I did duplicate you. No, I did not. So I'm going to copy your line and duplicate it so that you're here twice for that. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to undo this. Let me just check. The volunteer meeting was on October 15th. And no, I don't have you down there, so I will just duplicate. And this was October. I'm sorry, the 11th. When was the volunteer meeting in? I think it was the 15th. It was in November. So we have 41 people and we're waiting for somebody to fill out the form.
me.
Okay, no pressure, take your time.
I'm going as fast as I can.
Okay, I'll show everybody the form while I have it up. I think it's, yeah, there's 6 responses so far.
Okay. I'm in.
Excellent. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to that spreadsheet and make sure that you showed up with today's
If I can see it right above Carol Gunn right there.
Oh, she's there?
Yeah, no, line 41.
Okay, great. So we have 42 people now.
There it is.
And
42?
Well, it's 42
this is
entries.
42 raffle tickets that have been given away
Oh,
since August.
Delete my name if you want.
Well,
you get chosen,
actually,
we
if we
say no.
call one of the people who don't need it, we'll just go to the next number. I think that's easiest.
Yeah.
So, and then Kenneth recommended that we simply Google random number generator. And this,
I'm gonna change that to 42.
It says 32. You need to.
I will change that. Thank you. 42. Come on. And this
Woohoo, drum roll.
drawing this is not the big one. This is for the 10 stock photos from Adobe. The mini prize.
Yeah.
And it goes to number 41, which is, oops, come on. Let me get back to my Skype, which is over here. Number 41 is,
Carol Gunn.
come on, move my stuff.
Yeah.
That is
Carol.
Carol Gunn.
well, does that mean I can't win the big one?
No, it's just another random number generator.
Okay. I
42
guess my odds are just as good as any other odds at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going
I
back.
understand math, which I don't.
Congrats.
And I'm going to generate it again. Now we have the big drum roll. Number 20. And that is number 20. Lisa Robb, but she's not here. We're going to go through a few people till we find somebody who's here, I think, right?
Present.
What I could do is only select the people who are here and then lower the odds. That might be faster.
No, that wouldn't help. No.
The numbers.
Is Diane, she's not here. She's been helping with our web work, so she has a bunch of extra tickets. Number 1, I think that's me, but let me check. Yep, that's, no, I'm number 2.
Number 1 is not actually a number.
It's timestamp.
It's timestamp.
Heading.
It's timestamp. You're always here.
Oh, okay, I should have put, right, that doesn't work. So random, where are we again? Okay.
Oh, the suspense.
12, 12, 12, 12.
Well, I have a good feeling about this one.
That's Lisa Robb again.
Oh, man. She got almost 2 years then.
This shows you got to show up on prize night. 33. Darling wins. Her
Oh,
first time here.
So
You're
first-
one lucky lady, darling.
Woohoo!
But this is my first time though.
Oh, so you aren't eligible.
No.
In fact, you shouldn't have been in
Well,
this.
we can keep her in because we'll want that information for the second time she's in. She'll have this ticket. We don't want to delete it.
Okay, okay.
But it's nice to know that it works for me. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, thank you for your honesty. I wasn't thinking about that. And number 15 now. Where are we now? 15 is Sherry Chow.
Hey.
Are you here?
Sherry?
She's here. We can't hear her screaming in excitement.
Says woohoo.
Just one, I
Yay,
thought.
Sherry.
Congratulations. So Sherry, if you contact Tom, he will let you know who you have to contact, or he
I
will
thought-
write to the person at Adobe who will give you the 1-year-long subscription to the Creative Cloud, which
Thing is, when I was the co-manager previously, the interim one, I know I got her an Adobe prize. I don't know if she'd won while I was co-manager or right before.
I'm sorry, Kenneth, I missed what you just said. Could you repeat that?
I know that when I was interim co-manager, I contacted Adobe about getting her a what do you call it? A year subscription.
Uh-huh.
Was that this year or was that for that last time or the time before?
Must have been a year ago.
Okay, that's fine. I know we had some issues when everything happened with Donna, so I wasn't sure.
But who won 6 months ago?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I wasn't there at the meeting.
You didn't have a meeting 6 months ago?
Yes, we
I
did.
think, yeah, I think we was out for a while around the pandemic, remember?
Yeah.
We need a new column in the Excel spreadsheet on who won.
That's a very good idea. Yeah.
And if Sherry has won it before, it has to be at least a year ago, so she is eligible. So I think
when?
we're done. I think we got it. Oh, there we go.
Great.
Well,
Congratulations. And Sherry has been coming to our volunteer meetings, so that probably increased her chances. But we're going to get tough. You can't just come and lurk at the volunteer meetings. You have to participate and take on some responsibility during the month. So we're going to be very discerning about this. So,
Better work for it.
okay, good. I think we're in good shape. Thank you, Kenneth, for a wonderful presentation.
Oh man, that was awesome, Kenneth.
Very interesting, Kenneth.
I know
Lot
it
of
wasn't
fun.
strictly Adobe, but I thought it would go over real well still.
Oh, it's very closely related in so many ways. So I
Yeah.
don't see any
Just
problem.
that, and also the fact that we don't have a competing Adobe product, I didn't feel super bad about. Like if we had like, oh, you know, we have Adobe 3D, but I don't want to show you that one, then I'd feel kind of bad, but there is no competing product.
So does it relate to Adobe Dimensions at all, or it doesn't seem to be in anywhere of the same league? Like,
No, it's not in the same league. I mean, it's like amateur, not to be rude, but like amateur hour versus professional tool.
Yeah. Adobe does have a program called Adobe Fuse, I believe. I think that's a 3D program.
Yeah, but you know, they're really not putting their money behind it yet, so it's really not a professional tool. It's kind of one of those things they play with sometimes, and it's not quite there yet.
You don't ever hear anybody talk about Fuse.
Huh?
You don't ever hear anybody talk about Fuse.
I
No,
never heard of it.
I only looked it up because I'm like, there's got to be a competing Adobe product. No, I guess there's not, you know?
all right. This has been a very nice evening, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure you all did too. And I wish I had a lot of free time, which I don't, because I want to learn that program and play with it.
Recording.
Some links in the chat to a really good guy that teaches online besides me. So, you know, Grant Abbott's amazing. It's where I learned a lot of what I learned.
That sounds awesome. So, anything else? Anybody who have any ideas or feedback for us? Your new guys. Really appreciate your presence.
I have a question. Would anyone be interested in learning Adobe Portfolio since they discontinued Muse?
I've never used Portfolio.
Yeah, I'd be
Okay, I just
interested.
made
It
up a
comes
new-
up sometimes.
Does
I'm
this
sorry,
still-
Karen? What, Karen?
So
Does
this was Anne. I would be interested. It comes up periodically and I don't know it at all.
What is it?
Well, they replaced Muse with it. Muse was a big hot mess, and it's a lot better. I made my most recent website with it, and it's really,
Showing off your artwork to other people?
yes. And I figure if I teach a class in this, then I can make everybody look at my portfolio.
That sounds good.
I think that's a great idea.
Interesting. It works real similar to Behance, if you've never put anything on Behance before.
I think I've used it before, actually. A
It's
couple
really
years ago.
easy. Yeah.
Kenneth, you become a ghost.
I'm a force ghost, yes.
Invisible.
Okay.
Right, anything more to add? We'll do a brief focused little volunteer session on Tuesday, 5 o'clock or soon after 5 p.m.
5 p.m., which is a different time than this meeting. This meeting is at 6, but the
Yeah.
volunteers will be at 5. But it will be the same login Zoom thing, and I will, as soon as this meeting's over, I'll send out. Actually, I've already sent it to Anne for proofreading, so I don't make any more errors in the announcement. And once it's been proofread, it'll get sent out to on the list. So thank you, everybody, for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
the
Kenneth.
invitation. It was fun. I'll keep trying to drag more people here.
You did a good job. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very, very much.
We all
Thank
need to do
you
that.
much.
All right.
I'll follow up with David, see
Thank
what
you.
happened to him.
Bye.
Take care, you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.